Good morning. It's our fifth installation of Lent and parables. And today we have a parable that's not as well known. I mean, you probably will have heard it when I read it, but it's not one of the kind of the classic parables. And it was actually chosen by one of the people who've been coming to our discussions on Thursday night. And it's interesting also where it appears, and you'll hear when I read it the setting or the context during which it was told. So without further ado, let me read the parable of the unforgiving servant. Then Peter came and said to him, Lord, if another member of the church sins against me, how often should I forgive? As many as 7 times? Jesus said to him, Not 7 times, but I tell you 77 times. For this reason, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with his slaves. When he began the reckoning, one who owed him 10,000 talents was brought to him, and he could not pay. His Lord ordered him to be sold together with his wife and children and all his possessions, and payment to be made. So the slave fell on his knees before him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay you everything. And out of pity for him, the Lord of that slave released him and forgave him the debt. But that same slave, as he went out, came upon one of his fellow slaves who owed him 100 denarii, and seizing him by the throat, he said, Pay what you owe. Then his fellow slave fell down and pleaded with him, Have patience with me, and I will pay you. But he refused. Then he went and threw him into prison until he should pay the debt. When his fellow slaves saw what had happened, they were greatly distressed, and they went and reported to their Lord all that had taken place. Then his Lord summoned him and said to him, You wicked slave, I forgave you all that debt because you pleaded with me. Should you not have had mercy on your fellow slave as I had mercy on you? And in anger, his Lord handed him over to be tortured until he should pay his entire debt. So my heavenly Father will also do to every one of you if you do not forgive your brother or sister from your heart. Very interesting parable. It involves forgiveness, which is something that we are all in need of and that we're all expected to do. And it's kind of a funny start to the parable because I love Peter, is always trying to kind of ingratiate himself to Jesus, but he usually doesn't have that great of results. And here again, he comes up because, Jesus, how many times should I forgive someone? 4? 7? He throws out a number, and Jesus throws it right back at him. 77, not 7, but 77. This idea of forgiveness is something that is central to who God is. God is a forgiver. 77 is not do justice to what our God does for us. We are being forgiven constantly. As much as we like to see ourselves as the good guy, this parable says, we receive forgiveness, but we often do not give forgiveness. We take forgiveness as kind of our birthright, yet we are stingy with it when it comes to other people. Now, This parable is kind of confusing, and parables are confusing in this way. Sometimes there's this very easy association with one character in the parable with a particular character in the biblical story. The father, for instance, in the prodigal son is clearly identified by Jesus as being what God is like. Now here you have this king who is kind of the arbiter of this forgiveness that initiates this parable. Is God represented by this person? Well, I would hope not, because we're all in need of forgiveness, and that's what happened on the cross. We all of the forgiveness for all of our sin was taken care of on the cross. So does this represent the final outcome for all people? I'd say heaven would be empty if we went by this. Thankfully not. But a lot to discuss, a lot to unpack here. I invite you to read it on your own and to sit with it maybe for a little while and then read it again. And then join us on Thursday night. We're having a good time. It's not a big group, but a very enthusiastic group, and we're having a good time. So that's Thursday night at 7 p.m., and you will receive this email with the video, and then another one later in the week telling you how to join us. So I hope you have a great week.